Hi, Internet friends. I'm back with an update for the OCU400 treatment that Harmon received about almost 4 months ago now. I have seen such improvement in his vision, but there has also been unexpected changes to our daily life and complications that we didn't expect. So I'm going to start with all of the improvements to his vision, and then I'm going to talk about the unexpected improvements that we've adjusted to. And last, we'll go over complications and how we have managed that with our life of moving and being between the States and Nairobi. So the first biggest improvement definitely has been his light sensitivity. Previous to having this treatment, his light sensitivity was really bad. Like, he could not go from inside to outside without a significant amount of time for his eyes to adjust. And that's even with sunglasses. So this made it impossible to drive. It made it impossible for him to do things like do go-karting or even just to navigate different spaces, because going from light to dark was already difficult. So just simple daylight was so blinding to him that it made his vision almost unusable in a lot of ways. And now I have seen the drastic difference in this alone, and it has made such a difference in our everyday life, because just the simple act of looking outside and seeing sunlight and looking back inside, and there being no like that lagging kind of buffering adjustment time, the way he would describe it to me, is such a big difference, because it makes a lot more things possible. There isn't the extreme amount of time that I feel he used to genuinely need to adjust to navigating. And this is with a cane, so it's allowed him to have a lot more independence. And it's also, I think, helped him feel that the things that he loved to do most, like go-karting, when his light sensitivity went, it made it kind of impossible for him to tell the difference between the grass and the road. So it was something that he had to stop doing. Now it's a lot more possible that he can do things like that again. I think going with like the light sensitivity, the other side of the coin would be night blindness. Now, while he definitely still can't see as well in the dark as your average person, it is also something that has improved. Like, I noticed that instead of having to turn a light on to navigate a space at all, he definitely can navigate reasonably well within our home, even with the lights off. Now, this is our home, so it's where he's gonna feel most comfortable. Nonetheless, if he left his phone downstairs on the couch previously and the lights were off, he absolutely would have to turn the lights on and maybe ask for help to find it. Now, he maybe will leave the lights off and be able to navigate the room well enough and feel for his phone and go about his day. And it's the little things like that that we had already adjusted to and accommodated for, but seeing him be able to do these things and do them independently, it really makes me happy. And I know that we want to be, we try to be, cautiously optimistic, but I imagine that if this is only after 4 months, after a year, we really should see the full effect of it. Sorry, somebody was calling me. Probably spam. The next thing that has definitely improved is like the overall visual quality. So this is his perception of color. This is seeing texture or detail or just general visual acuity. For instance, we were talking about this the other day and how all of this is a little bit of a miracle for us, and how we have, the changes that are happening, the things that we didn't expect. And anytime I'm emotional, I'm gonna cry. And of course, we're talking about something very emotional, so I'm crying a little bit. And he's like, oh, this is the first time I've ever seen your tear roll down your face. I cry all the time. And in 7 years of being together, he had never seen that. He had never seen the detail of our expressions on our faces in our wedding pictures. He had never seen the detail of our dog's his face. He had never really been able to truly, all in one glance, see his whole face. a lot of this has to do with, I think, the light sensitivity not washing everything out, but the fact that he has that improvement along with being able to see color better, being able to see detail better, being able to see small things like the details of his cuticles, being able to see his own hair better. It's all not only given him such a boost in confidence, but it has, I think, on the other side, made me realize just how much he wasn't seeing before. So it's weird that it's weird, or it's strange to try and articulate what blindness may look like to someone that is sighted. And even though as his wife, I would try my best to empathize and to understand, it's something that ultimately I probably will never be able to fully understand because it's not the perception of the world that I'm seeing. But the more that his vision improves and he points out things like seeing the details of our wedding picture and seeing his shoes, I realized that these were details that were just not a part of his life before. And there is a certain sadness, retroactive sadness that comes with that, because I don't know that I actually appreciated and understood how much those details were just not accessible to him before. Last thing is kind of the adjustment to view. So things like turning his head and being able to scan his environment and see things has definitely improved, because previously he would have to definitely move very intentionally and put all of his focus into if he wanted to actually observe something. So now he can definitely, if he asks me oh, have you seen my water bottle? I can say, oh, it's on the left side of the TV. And this is normal for us because I realized it's much better to provide direction, but still give him plenty of bandwidth for his own autonomy. So instead of guiding his hand somewhere or leading it to him or always getting something for him, I would try to give very clear instructions, especially in our home, so that it'd be easy enough for him to navigate. And with those instructions, it still sometimes would take him effort of either feeling it or even just navigating around the space to get to the location of what he's trying to obtain. Now I can tell he is much faster. It's much more normal for him to walk across the room and pick something up and not bump anything and not realize that something is sitting on the floor and not stumble over our giant dog along the way. I know that's something a lot of people that ask him about and even ask me about is his field of vision specifically. And this is the thing that I honestly wish I could give more information, but it's not something that he has had measured since he's had this treatment. The only insight I can give to this is that because his light sensitivity, his night blindness, the overall visual acuity has improved, it does seem that his field of vision is larger. However, that may just be because the amount of vision that's usable is much improved. But once he has reached a year, I believe that is our goal. Once it's been a year since he's had the treatment, we'll go and have the full span of field of vision test. That way we can compare it very clearly to a year ago from before he had the treatment to a year after. And we can really tell what difference has been made in that respect. The unexpected improvements have been kind of all over the place. So the biggest one for us as a couple has been eye contact. And I know as a couple and, being a husband and wife, we have a very intimate relationship. You would think this is a normal part of our life for most people. But because he's blind, most of the time when we talk to each other, when we spend time together, we aren't gazing into each other's eyes. And I have noticed since his vision has become better that when we're talking, he is looking me in the eye. And it feels very intimate in a way that feels very unfamiliar. And it's something I didn't realize we weren't doing until we started doing it. And it's one of the things that I didn't realize we were missing in a way, because we still love each other very much. We enjoy each other's company a lot, even if we aren't looking directly into each other's eyes for conversations. But now that we can, it's something a little magical to it, because there is value. There's There is something about having the person you love actually gaze and focus on you that we didn't have before. And it's something I'm very grateful to see. And even if it's 4 months in and it's gotten this much better, I am cautiously very optimistic about how much better things like that will be a year from now. The next thing that has definitely improved, along with like him being able to make eye contact and actually see me, is things like him seeing me across the room, or if I'm at a distance it's not great lighting, him still being able to know I'm there. Kind of coupled alongside that, hold on, let me see. Along with him being aware of my facial expression and being able to see my eyes and see my expressions much better, it's also me being aware of him seeing me. Like, there is the feeling of being observed. We all know that feeling. You kind of get the prickle in the back of your neck when someone is watching you and you aren't aware of it. This was never something I felt a lot of the time with Harmon. And now that he can see me, sometimes I'll turn and look and realize, like, oh crap, he's watching me. Like, it's nice, but it's also new and unfamiliar. So this also, we both have realized it goes both ways. So not long after he had both eyes done, we were sitting down and having dinner, and his vision was still pretty poor because it was very immediately, maybe after the second eye. But he realized as he's eating, he kind of looked over and was like, oh my gosh, you're here. Now, I just handed him a plate of food, so I assumed he knew I was there. But it gave me, and continues to give me, insight into the bubble that he was within with his blindness. Like, not being able to perceive who is surrounding you and only being able to see what you are directly focusing on means a lot of the time he's in his own head. He's kind of in his own little world, and not by choice, but just because that is the amount of sensory information that he is being fed from the available information his senses can give him. So even for him, the same way of, oh, you can see me. Oh, you actually are sitting in the same room as me. And I didn't even notice that all this time because I've been, doing something else. It's something, there's an awareness of each other that's much different from what we shared before. And it's good because it helps us engage more. And I think it helps us be more intentional in how we communicate and learning how to do that in a different way. Like previously, I know I made a lot of intentional effort to, if me and Harmon are talking, I try to be directly in front of him and look at him, because there was a point where he could read my lips. Once his vision got to a point where that wasn't really working, it became a matter of I need to be facing him so that he can hear me very clearly, so that there isn't a distraction of me trying to shout something to him across the room over the blare of the TV, so that communication became a very deliberate act. And it continues to be a very deliberate act. However, we have a bit more wiggle room. We have more bandwidth to communicate now. And the last unexpected thing has continued to be him seeing things that he has not seen, even though they have been a part of his life and our life for a long time. The greatest or the most heartwarming example for me was him, for the first time, seeing this little Aang Funko Pop. I bought this for him right after his surgeries because I thought, I know he can't see now, and this is kind of a sad time because immediately after the surgery, his vision is significantly worse for a bit there. But I thought one day he'll look and suddenly he'll see it. And I was honestly asking him, periodically, can you see it? Can you see it? And he was like, you got to stop asking me if I can see this thing because it's just depressing me because I can't see it. It's just a blob. And so I said, fine, let me just let it go and it will emerge one day to him. And sure enough, one day it did. He looked and he was like, oh my gosh, I can see his arrow on his forehead. I can see the pose he's in. And it made me so happy. But there is this retroactive sadness I feel because I didn't realize the amount of detail in our life that he just wasn't able to perceive. He couldn't see our expressions in our wedding picture. And recently he was able to see it and was so happy because it was something he knew existed. He knew the pose and general idea of our wedding picture, but he never got to fully experience it. He looked at it and saw his shoes and was so excited to see him. He's like, oh, my shoes are so cool. Or seeing our dog Pax. Our dog is huge. However, he most of the time is kind of seeing a silhouette of a very large animal. So being able to see the texture of his fur, being able to actually see our dog's face and see his eyes that he hasn't probably seen since our dog was a puppy. There's such little things, I think, for someone like me that is just going about my life with normal vision, and I don't know that it's something I would point out as a point of joy in my daily life. But going on this journey has made me appreciate all these tiny little things so much more, because it's what a lot of our life is made of. And it's it feels like such a gift. It feels like such a second chance for him to be able to see the things that he thought he might never see again. And as wonderful as all of this has been, I cannot say it has been a straight line of healing and an easy road. So after he got his second eye done is when we realized that something was definitely wrong with the first one. So he got his right eye, which is his worst eye, done first. And after the bubble went away, so after the procedure, they kind of inject the bubble so that the treatment stays in place. That takes a few days to go away, less than a week. And after that, it should be getting better. His bubble went away, and he still felt like it was very, very blurry. It felt like he could not, his vision was, if anything, worse in certain ways than it was before the procedure. But we accounted all of that to healing. It was also the first eye, so we didn't really know what to expect. We contacted the doctor, and by the time he went and got the second eye done, after that one healed and he saw how it progressed, is when we realized something is definitely not quite right with the first eye. And we came to find out ultimately there was just a lot of fluid in that eye. We don't know exactly why. It could just be bad luck. It could have been his diet. It could have been many things. Nonetheless, the fluid was there. So we had to address how are we going to hopefully decrease the amount of fluid in his eye so that his eye can start healing, as well as the left eye. This required him to take the steroids and use the eye drops for much longer than was the original intention. And I will say the steroids suck. It is the cost of getting this treatment, and while I think it's a cost, that is worth it for the vision that he has and it continues to improve every day. But I cannot feign that the steroids have a lot of bad side effects. They cause you to be a bit more moody. They cause your skin to break out. And generally, he just always would voice like he just feels not himself. It makes you feel very like Elizabethan, like I'm just weak and I'm not feeling my best. So at first we thought he'd only have to do this for, I believe, the course of while he was taking the treatment, getting the OCU400 treatment. However, because of the fluid, he ended up having to take steroids for more like 3 months. And I will say it was a struggle because you have to continue to manage your diet. You have to continue to manage your blood sugar and make sure that you aren't having any other ill effects from the steroids. Nonetheless, I am very glad to say that the last OCT scan he had, the fluid has started to decrease and he has started to see much better out of his right eye, while his left eye has just been sailing along and healing wonderfully. The complication with one eye healing at a different rate than the other is that the vision that's being fed to his brain is not the same from each eye. So if you ever crossed your eyes and you see your vision kind of create two things, sometimes that's what happens to him because he has a left eye that is giving him vision as we would expect it, because it's healed with no complications. His right eye, because depending on what the fluid is doing that day, sometimes is giving him, the cross-eyed effect. So it can still some days make things a little more difficult in trying to pick something up off the table or trying to navigate, because he may not know which of the images or which of the things is the actual reality. So if you're trying to grab a red cup and you're suddenly seeing two red cups, you're not quite sure which one is the real one and which one is the haze image that you're getting from the eye that's still healing. So there is that. But I have to say, all in all, for the effort it took, for the amount of strain just on your body, on our relationship, the travel, all of it, it was all worth it. Because we originally decided to start spending more time in Kenya because we knew his vision would only get worse, and we thought we need to make our lives the most wonderful that we can, with that being a reality. And by the time we found this treatment, this was such a boon to us because we didn't even think there was anything possible. So our hope going into it was just stop his vision from deteriorating further. We would have been happy if his vision just at least stabilized and it helped it. And we were cautiously optimistic that it would make it better. And I am eternally grateful to every person that has listened to our story, to every person that has supported us, to every person that has shared your own story and made us feel a little less alone in something that's not so common. So that's my update for 4 months after Harmon has had this OCU400 treatment. And then once some more time passes and I, have more info to tell you guys, I definitely will, because I want to make sure that anyone else that's going on a similar journey or that just wants to know how this has worked for us, so that maybe if it's something you also want to have done or a treatment you want to seek out, you can learn from our experience, and hopefully that helps you along your way too. So I will see you next time. Bye.
Come see Ang today. What? Look at him. I can see him. Come see Ang today. What? Look at him. I can see him.